Hello, folks. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. My name is Eric, and I'm a kidney dialysis warrior. I wanted to bring to you this question because I think it's important to have some data from different people and from different experiences talking about what dialysis is like or what dialysis was like for you that first 30 days, that first 4 weeks, that first month. I think it's important to do that because the more data we can put together, the more consensus we can put together, the better off it'll be for the next person that has to do the first 30 days and the next person that has to do the first 30 days. Like it's important that people are able to hear our stories, read our stories, and find a way to use that as a tool to help them travel on their journey. I talk about that a lot, how sharing our stories is so important because people need to know that it can be done. Life is not over once you're told that you have to do dialysis. Life is not over when you're diagnosed with kidney disease. Life can be seen as just beginning a new phase, your new chapter, if that's how you choose to look at it. And so it's very important for us to just share our story. Like, whatever victories you've collected, whatever setbacks you've overcome, problems you've troubleshooted, like it's important for us to share those kind of things. And so I found in one of my groups this question of the day kind of thing. And it reads, question of the day. Do you remember how you felt the first month you were on dialysis? What was difficult about that first month? Were you given any advice that made it easier? I remember my first month, and the area I was living in was an area that was unfamiliar to me. I had only been there for a short period of time, and I didn't know anyone, and everything was new. You know, the area was new, the people were new, and I gotten sick. It was an emergency situation. I boneheadedly thought I could take a full dosage of blood pressure medicine after not taking any doses for the prior 6 months. And, you know, that tanked my blood pressure to the point where my then wife, now ex-wife, had to basically drape me over her shoulder, put me in a car, take me to the local hospital where they had to do what they could to bring my blood pressure up, had to be whisked to another hospital an hour away by ambulance, told that my kidneys had failed, threw a catheter in my chest, and I was dialyzing that night. So it was a crazy 8 to 12 hours. And so that was my introduction to dialysis. Others have had the experience of hearing from their nephrologist that their kidneys were in a steady decline, that they perhaps have to prepare for dialysis. Get a fistula now because in 6 months you're going to be on dialysis. Get a fistula now because in a year you're going to be on dialysis. So those people had that ramp up time. And I don't necessarily know which one is better. I don't know if one is better. I know for me, being thrust into dialysis in an emergency situation, I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have the time to wallow. I didn't have the time to go, why is me? I just wanted them to like keep me alive. And that is what it took to do it, to dialyze me. And so I didn't have time to go over things I may have done wrong in my past, what led to this thing, because when I was dialyzing, it was merely, hours after I'd been told that my kidneys had failed. And I feel like that may have been better. I don't know. I don't know how I would have reacted if I had some kind of 6-month or 12-month ramp up. I may have driven myself crazy. Just thinking about the what ifs. We do that a lot. We think about the what ifs, and then that drives our anxiety through the roof. Our moods become imbalanced, and we may not be a pleasure to be around because we're thinking about, oh, I should have did this, should have did that. And so I was thrust in there in an emergency situation. And after being in the hospital for a few days, I was assigned to a local clinic, basically the only clinic in town. And I will say the people there, nurses, techs, social worker, dietitian, all very professional, very knowledgeable, very experienced. And I felt as normal could feel at that juncture. I didn't feel my normal, not just yet. And I don't think I would ever feel that way again. But I started feeling, this is my life now. If I want to stay alive, this is what I'm going to have to do. And I embraced that for the most part immediately, because I guess I had done a little bit of reading, and I had learned what the alternative is. The alternative is either get a transplant or meet your demise. If you're not dialyzing. If you're not dialyzing, you're either going to meet your demise pretty quickly or you're going to have to get a transplant. Those are your options. And when you're painted into that kind of corner, it actually makes the choice easy, whatever you decide. It makes it easy because you're like, well, door A, door B, door C. The more accessible doors at that very moment were meet my demise or dialyze. Transplant was a door that was far off at that point. I wasn't even considering transplant because I was new to dialysis. And so that first month was topsy-turvy. Things were different. I couldn't work the job I had anymore. Things were changing in my marital home. I was different. I had to worry about supplies, had to get a blanket and a pillow. Had to worry about my entertainment at dialysis. How would I entertain myself? Because I remember there not being a lot of pain associated with it. It was for the most part inconvenient, very inconvenient. But I won't say it was painful. It wasn't off-putting in that kind of way. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to go to dialysis because it'll be painful. There wasn't really any pain associated with it for me. And I can't obviously speak for everybody. But for me, there was very little pain associated with it. It was definitely very inconvenient, though. And the inconvenience came in different areas. Again, there was strife in my marital home. I attributed a lot of that to kidney disease and my inability to be the person I was when I came into the marriage, if that makes sense. And logistically speaking, that was inconvenient because I think the job I had at the time, I was walking to the job, and walking to dialysis was out of the question. And so until I figured out the logistical piece of that, I had to kind of get rides from people I had met in the area. My wife, now ex-wife, had to work her schedule around taking me and picking me up. Till finally, I figured out there was a shuttle available to me, which was a shuttle attached to that town's bus service, transportation service. So it was a service that's usually for, if you're going to any kind of treatments or people that are disabled, so on and so forth. And so my social worker helped me access that, get the information, get it all set up for me. And after that, and that probably took a couple weeks to set up. And then after that, I was, walking from our apartment at the time, to this shuttle, which came right into the apartment complex. Very convenient. And what blew me away about that was that it was only a quarter to ride. It was a small little town, and it was only a quarter per way to ride this shuttle. And I was like, oh, a quarter? I'll pay for everybody. Not really, but Yeah, it was only a quarter of the ride, and I've traditionally, historically, lived in major metropolitan areas, and I don't think anything has ever been a quarter in my life to ride on a bus. And so that was just kind of a funny little thing about that whole experience. And so logistically speaking, I had the transportation worked out because if I know I can go to a place where they're going to take care of my medical needs, which was the dialysis center, that's covered. I just need to get there and then I just need to get back. And so that was worked out. Another thing that popped up was finances. How would I replace what I lost or something similar to it when I stopped working? How would I replace that now that I'm sick, now that I'm unable to work in the same capacity that I've worked in the past? How do I replace that? And so, ask my social worker. I talk about team a lot on this channel, but a critical member of your team, especially when you're starting out, is your social worker. Social worker, dietitian, those are pretty much the ones you're going to have, immediate access to depending on your clinic. And obviously your dietitian and your nurses, but for that kind of auxiliary help, for that, all right, the nurses and tech, they're going to take care of my medical needs, but I got to live too. So how am I going to mitigate that? So your dietitian is going to be there to help you work on your diet and work on how you should be shopping, what you should be eating when you're not dialyzing. Like your dietitian is going to bring in their expertise and their experience for that. Your social worker, that person is going to help you in those areas, those kind of logistical areas, working on your insurance, working on other resources, working on your finances, like how you gonna live your life. You gotta switch some gears. You have to switch some gears. And your social worker is going to help you do that. I remember my social worker, nice lady named Barbie, educated me, prodded me along when she needed to, and gave me some papers, had me read them, had me sign them. And that put me on the path that I'm really on to this very day, because what that allowed me to do, it created a little bit of cushion as far as my finances, got my insurance taken care of, just kind of those everyday worries, got those knocked out. And I'm very appreciative of that because it took my anxiety to probably a 10 down to maybe a 2 when it came to that logistical part of it. And so that would be, I guess, advice. I don't know. Lean into that team that you have there. There's a team at whatever clinic you're going to. And I don't care if you're going to do PD training or home hemo, there's still a team at your disposal. Dietitian, social worker, support staff, the facility administrator, the administrative assistant, the nurses, the techs, all those folks are hopefully you want them to be team you at the end of the day. You want them to say, I hope you do well. I hope you recover. I hope you get a transplant. I hope you have a great day. Like, you want them to be team you at the end of the day. And so that's what I would tell people. Lean into that team and their expertise, because they've done this hundreds, thousands of times. They could definitely help you kind of get your life back on track, because it's going to fall off track a little bit. You're not going to have the same day that you had, or the same days or kind of days that you had before dialysis on dialysis. It's just going to change. You're going to have to worry about logistics. You're going to be tired sometimes that you don't want to do anything. You're going to have to worry about just how to rebuild out of that rubble that I talk about often, rebuilding out of ruins. And that's important. And so that's what I would tell a person. Like, that first month, it's going to be topsy-turvy. It would be in your best interest to kind of just focus on a thing to do. It's like, okay, I'm on dialysis. Now what? All right, well, I got to work insurance. Is that covered? Well, my finances, is that covered? Food assistance, perhaps, is that covered? Am I aware of all the resources at my disposal? Am I aware of those in my local area, in my state, in my region? Like, am I aware of those? Could the social worker perhaps work with that? There may be some anxiety or mental disruptions that you have to deal with. Your anxiety may go up. You may suffer from depression because of the newness, because of the decline in health. All this stuff is gonna hit you. And so that social worker can definitely connect you with resources that'll definitely help you. And if you need some antidepressants, speaking with your doctor may be the way to go. And so there's all types of resources are just at an arm's length available to you when you first get started. So that'd be my advice. First 30 days, first month. It's going to be tough, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it because thousands, millions of people have done it. And so I wish you the best, and you're going to get through it, and just get into that routine. That's what has really kept my anxiety at bay. I've gotten into a routine that from the outside looking in, it may look mundane, it may look lame, it may look monotonous, but I love it. I love it. I love the fact that I'm doing laundry on a Friday, which is today, in video world, and everything is going to plan. Everything, every little thing. It's like, oh man, I do this every week, but I'm glad I get to do it. I'm glad I get to do it. And so develop that kind of routine where your life gets back to boring. Your life is like, oh yeah, I got dialysis tomorrow, but today I gotta, I'm gonna plant a couple plants. You know what I mean? Like just get back to that monotony, because your life is it's gonna seem topsy-turvy at first. But it's the sooner you can get back to that normal, mundane routine that you've had your whole life, you'll be in a nice spot. And so I wanted to wrap the video by asking in the comments, let me know, how were your first 30 days on dialysis? What piece of advice would you give somebody as they're experiencing their first 30 days? Put that in the comments, please. In the description, I've left a few links I'd like for you to check out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you know of somebody who are also traveling on their own kidney journey and will find value in this video or any video on this channel, please share it with them. I would really like to have you as a subscriber, so please subscribe and click that notification bell so you're notified when I post new stuff. I appreciate you stopping by today. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.